Welcome. My name is Yao A. Owusu Jr., your resident vitality consultant. To my left, I have Nicholas Lopez Jr., and to my right, the alien Andre Bibbins Jr. We are the Vitality Handbook. Without further ado, you guys understand season 3, we're talking about recovery. Now, physical recovery is where we really want to gear this towards, and there's a lot of confusion on what to do, when to do it, how to do it, does it work? Let's dive into a conversation about what is physical recovery, right? Like, what is considered something that you can do that's physical recovery? Stretching, massage, blah, 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 blah.
Interesting.
How do we define that?
I have a way of approaching that question. My question to you is, would you consider weakness or being deconditioned as something you need to physically recover from? Do you need to physically recover from weakness?
Yes.
Okay.
100%.
So in that case, I would consider.
100%.
So in that case, I would consider the extent at which you can explore physical recovery is based on the themes and the goal, right? So because we have active stretching, sometimes is going to be your physical recovery route.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes static stretching is going to be a physical recovery route. Sometimes dynamic stretching, because maybe, in a sense where dynamic stretching would be considered quote unquote physical recovery is, that's why I asked you this, maybe you're just too bound up. Maybe you're muscle bound and you need to dynamically stretch in order to be in a space where your body is more adaptive. So that makes me think, how do we define someone who is fully recovered, fully physically recovered?
I mean, it's gonna be subjective and objective.
Yeah.
So you can actually objectively measure how someone has recovered if you test them before to see how someone's VO2 max is, right? And you train them for 4 weeks and you test them again to see how their VO max. If it has decreased, that person has physically recovered from that exercise, and now they have a lower VO2 max. They can consume more oxygen at a higher rate within a certain time frame. That lets me know you're more conditioned. That's a measurable way you can do that, but then it's very subjective. Then it could be about feel. I feel relaxed. Like, I feel like I'm recovered, right?
Exactly.
Or you can have some assessment tools that can track your recovery. But then again, how can you now improve that?
Yeah, I'd say figure out which one is it. Active stretching, static stretching, dynamic stretching, muscle activation. Do you need to strengthen something? Do you need to integrate into real life? So all those things, I think, if you don't have a fine balance of all those things, it can leave you susceptible to poor recovery. Right? If that's why I actually like, does weakness count?
Yeah.
As something you need to recover from. What do you think, Dre?
Yeah, I will put that in that category. Yeah, if you really think about it, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. Well, you're getting stronger. That means you're getting better. That's what I'm saying. I'll put it in. It's like simple. It's like the way he put it. I see what he's saying. It's like weakness leaving the body to get stronger, to get better.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
So what's the difference between approaching weakness through an exercise lens and approaching weakness from a physical recovery lens?
I would say it's the same. So if you exercise, then you learn how to recover from that exercise bout. If you start physically recovering, you'll be able to train more efficiently because your body's prepped and ready. So there's like a constant cooling down and a constant warming up of the body throughout your day.
That's a great
There has to be a flow. You come into the morning very easy, right? Ramp yourself up, start your recovery stage, getting close to when you're going to do the most exercise, you're going to work the most, you're sitting down too long, recover yourself, and then you slowly wind yourself down throughout the day. So that's the natural flow of how we eat, of how we sleep, of how we move. It has to be with that same rhythm. You sleep at night, you need to stretch at night so you can sleep better, right? You cut your food less at night so you can sleep better. So everything is, so when it comes to physical recovery, it's the same thing. You want to have that synergistic balance or a flow of how a day is supposed to go.
Damn, I'm going to ask, what's the incentive? What's the motivation for someone to, because I'm like, okay, that sounds perfect as far as everybody's body runs on rhythms. You know, so everybody's,
Mhm.
I mean, hunger, etc. Through
sure.
circadian rhythms, right? So even like you said, your performance is running through a rhythm. Even like a workout bout or your
For
need to
sure.
recover goes on a rhythm too.
For sure.
But then it gets to the point, it's like, damn, this is a lot to manage. What's the incentive for someone who's in pain to start to really learn about physical recovery?
I'm gonna tell you which one thing that actually works. Obviously, right? We love the dynamic, we love the active, but I would say static stretching is probably the most slept on recovery tools you can use.
Yeah, I
It's
fucked up.
static stretching. I think for people, like you said, what makes people feel they're recovered? Flexibility, because you're going to be feeling a lot more looser. So you're actually going to feel it work. You're going to be walking better, obviously moving better, rotating better. Everything, you're just going to be moving better. Being in the field, we always been in the field, learning from each other, I think that static stretching, people confuse static stretching with, oh, you're supposed to only do it at this time. No, you could do static stretching, but if you're doing it before a workout, people are like, no, you're supposed to. Yes, I'm not prepping my body to actually do that movement to where I need the dynamic or the active kind of movement stretching like that. Sometimes for you to get in the mood, it requires you to just like in that static stretching, picking 3 to 5 stretches. It's almost like a meditation in a sense. You're visualizing what you're going to do. You know what I'm saying? You have your headphones on and you're visualizing like what it's a meditation in a sense because it's holding you still for 5 to 10 minutes, right? So that's a good way
That's a different type of prep. That's a different way to think about
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, so it's
different way
to
to think about that.
visualizing what you're going to do and actually say, you're like, damn, I actually don't need that. I actually need to replace this movement with this movement. Now you're thinking about your program. You know what I mean? You start to replace movements. You're like, I gotta take this out.
You use it more cerebral. Like
Yeah.
when you're doing your static stretching before, so that's mostly like the mental capacity of physical recovery. Like what type of mental space do you have to be in
Yeah.
when you're doing that? So usually static stretching you hear is done afterwards because it's going to give you the greatest amount of elasticity, meaning true flexibility, where you're in good posture all the time, right? You don't have to do anything to get there. You're just static in that static posture. But using that mentally is another way to look at it because you're prepping your body by being in those static holds before you're doing your work. I mean, that's fantastic.
And then after the static stretching, right? Then now you could go into your prepping. You could go into a quick little dynamic. It's okay to you're kind of going from visualizing, using that as a visualizing mindset tool.
I love that.
Right? To reprogram until whatever it is, right? Get the stresses out for the day, whatever it is, right?
I love that.
Also to visualizing, like, are you powerlifting? Are you performance lifting? Are you bodybuilding? Like, okay, like finding that switch. What exactly am I doing?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And go and attack it and crush it.
Yeah,
I love that.
That makes me think of, in my mind was running, it's like, this is almost like, quote unquote, hard to recreate in a laboratory. Because what you're really talking about is getting in touch with your own sensitivities, your own sense of, like you said, what are the senses that come, what are the mindset that comes with having to go into prepare for, like you said, powerlifting,
Whatever it is,
training, bodybuilding. That's almost like a sensitivity that you can't really test in the lab. And so that's why people prefer to see the instruction say, just give me a clear instruction. Okay, after I do strength training, I need a static stretch. Versus saying, no, get in tune with your body's senses to be able to navigate the nuance of what you're talking about. Navigate the nuance of, okay, just focus. Sometimes I've seen Yao go into some crazy static stretching patterns. And it's like, okay, like I think it's definitely a mental visualization thing, but I think there's something to say about this, how that improves your sense of your own sense of you, not the scientist in the laboratory or in the lab, your own sense of what it takes for your body to feel the best. Because when you said one thing that's static stretching is going to make people feel more flexible. I'm like, okay. That's actually giving them enhanced senses. oh, I feel something now.
You'll hear clients say it all the time, like, man, I really felt that stretch. Or, man, I really feel like I'm tight. Like I really need to open something
You
up.
held it for a couple seconds, even if it's for a couple seconds.
But no one talks about feeling in the when they promote those. Okay, strength training is great, static stretching is good. Only don't do it before that. They're not really talking about the sense aspect of how does that change? Maybe
it's appropriateness or inappropriateness. Everything that you guys are saying sums it into that. It's appropriate for Dre to do static stretching before his powerlifting because he's using a visualization technique to get his feeling. I'm about to do this powerlifting. I'm about to crush it.
Yeah.
Holding this, meditate, the music, whatever he's doing. You use that same tool as well when you're getting into it. You could use music to help get that rhythm to get into it, right? So you can use rhythm and sounds, the music that we use to prep our bodies. We're prepping. That's part of your physical recovery. You're trying to recover from whatever tightness you had. You play music, you're loose. So when people see me do it, I do some crazy static stretching, and it almost looks like I'm dancing. Because the faster I can get into a movement, if I'm here, the faster I can get that the faster I can get that connection, you know what I mean? The more I can get into my speed work. So if I'm doing speed stuff, it's like, what is he doing? Dancing? Yeah.
So you're monitoring your senses. Go ahead.
For sure.
Perfect. So that's why a lot of high-level professional athletes, they go and they probably rent out the gym for themselves with them and their coach. Or they build the gym so they can do all the weirdest that you think that's weird, but it's prepping your body. Boxing, people be like, what is he doing? They don't know. You actually have to slip your head. You don't have to go all the way. You have to be quick. Your reaction time have to be quick. Split second. You have to. So all those weird little things we see, and you're like, what are they doing? But you're doing those movements to actually prep your body to go into the actual real movement.
So I guess, what's the language? I agree with that. I say, how do you equip people, the audience, with the decision-making ability to say, okay, when do I listen to the study that says only do static stretching after the during the cool down only, versus promoting that other side that we're talking about as far as getting more in tune?
Easy answer.
Getting more tapped into your senses. How do you, for someone who's never done anything and getting ready to make a decision, how do we allow them, how do we equip them to be able to make the best decision for themselves? When is it to listen to when do you have to listen to the study or consider the study, and when do you have to consider the more nuanced aspects of getting in tune? Because there's no studies that say that monitor your senses, that measure your senses and how they're getting more in tune.
Go ahead,
Easy answer. You gotta assess yourself. So you have to assess yourself to see what physical recovery works for you, what routine works for you. Everybody's routine is different, but the key thing is you have to assess yourself. See how much mobility you have. See how much flexibility you have. See how quick you are. Assess yourself through movement. Assess yourself through power. Assess yourself through strength. Do the thing. Right? The assessment is the test. The test is the assessment. That's it. You should be testing yourself all the time, and you want to be able to get with someone that knows more things. Multi-dimensional coaches and athletes that know how to power lift, that know how to sprint, that know how to box, that know how to bodybuilder, that know how to dance, that know you have to get with someone like that.
Perfect. The assessment. And when you do assess yourself, don't, right now we're flipping it, right? Say you need more static versus dynamic or active. You need more static, right? Now, but don't neglect, just because you assess yourself and you say you need more than this, doesn't mean just I'm gonna stop doing this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I agree with that. And finally, I heard, I was listening to a podcast with Dr. Attia, and this is the first time, I don't know all his views, but I was listening to him, I'm kind of listening to him and learning about his views and his positions. It's great to have people on that side of the world, and same reason it's great to have people on this side. But for the first time, I actually heard someone call out the flaws of studies versus holding studies to this golden
standard.
And he's a high level in that world as far as using studies and whatnot. And a good point that what sparked that idea or thought when Yao mentioned assessments, because he was calling out this study on it was relating to women's health. I have to tap into the notes for the details, but basically how everybody was like following the recommendations of what the study was saying, not realizing that the population they were studying had nothing to do with the population that you have to like actually start solving the problem with. So like all the results that came out were like on women like over 50.
Gotcha.
Versus like, and he was basically saying, no, like you obviously he's going to say that because you're supposed to be starting addressing this problem in the 40s type of talk, not after 50. So all the studies out there,
that's the fault with the studies too.
Are studying the wrong group. It's like saying how are we going to solve?
So that's a problem. That's a problem with the studies. It's not that studies are a problem. The problem is the studies are not credible. Most of these corporations fund their own studies for their own gains.
See,
that is where you want to see the corruption. But studying something, you do want to, because part of assessing or part of getting an assessment of how someone needs to recover is studying them through the assessment tool. But you have to watch out for fake studies, or studies that are not really done on, like you said, the population, or done with the intent to give the real information instead of trying to distort the information. Mm-hmm. So you have to be careful with that.
So what would be, I guess, if we go into gem mode, how would you give that person the ability to, or how would you equip that person with the ability to discern when it's time to use the information generated from a scientific environment, from the scientific method, and information that relies on them as being the experiment themselves?
I think that both, because I'm a firm believer in the scientific method. It's just that you need to do that on yourself. Mm-hmm. So you need to do what you need to do for you. You need to figure out, be aware of what you need. That's the first step. First thing is self-awareness. If you're not aware of what a boxer needs to recover, and you're going to start boxing, you're going to be in big trouble. Facts. If you're not aware of what a power lifter needs to recover, and you're going to start powerlifting, you're in big. If you're going to sprint, if you're going to do what, you have to be aware first of what is going on right now with what you're trying to do and what I need to recover. Then once you do that, then you can start thinking about the different methodologies you can use, routines you can use. But the first thing is like, what am I trying to accomplish? What is my objective? All right, now how do I need to recover in the process of getting to that objective? And that's going to be healing your body. I'm really passionate about this. This is the impetus. To me, coming into the wellness, fitness, whatever realm, vitality realm, is through physical recovery. So I'm very passionate about this. Please, guys, comment, subscribe, share, follow. Guys, give me a gym and a gym. So we'll go Nick, then Dre.
I was just gonna say.
No, I want to hear yours first.
Okay. Obviously, you have to run the experiment on yourself, obviously. But I would say dig deeper into the research. So you're going to have multiple studies that they study the same thing, but it's going to be multiple studies, and you're going to find that 1 or 2 pages, let's say the 3 out of the 4 pages, all are kind of saying the same thing, and there's 1 page that's kind of left field. So it's like, those other 3 pages will break down the age group. So they didn't tell you the age group. So those 3 pages say now how you just found out and how you was listening to the podcast. Now you have the bloggers out there, people that have their own websites. Oh, we found out that actually the study is correct, but they didn't tell you that it was this age group.
Right.
So we found that this age group or that age group. So it's really kind of digging, researching more and just digging more for different, reading up on multiple articles about these things. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I would say it's more of that. And then, you come to your own conclusion. Like you said, obviously, do it to yourself. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah. For sure.
My approach to that is how I use it real time when I take on a new client. When we think about client management and their questionnaire says, this is how I use studies, right? Mm-hmm. I really use it for safety concerns. Okay. I think that's how, is this thing going to kill or poison or do damage? That's really what I think And then that sets up the parameters for how you want to experiment, and how you want to explore, and how you want to develop yourself. Because, for example, when I take a new client, in their medication list, it says I'm taking beta blockers, I'm taking serotonin inhibitors. What I do is I go online, I say, okay, what are the contraindications of beta blockers in exercise?
Yeah.
Okay, and that's, okay, it says you have to manage XYZ closely. Outside of that, okay, with that in awareness, I'm now gonna be exploring, applying these methods within that safety kind of realm. But outside of that, most people, I would say, don't, like you say, you guys are saying, ultimately don't get too bogged down by waiting for someone else to come up for an answer for you. And I think it's maybe a function of fear. Fear that, like you said, you always say this, fear that you're never gonna actually recover. So maybe you're waiting like, damn, I can't do this myself. Someone has to figure this out for me. I'm not gonna lie, even when I was injured, I tried. I was paying a lot of bread to go to all these PTs. And then but I didn't give up, right? I'm still gonna be searching. I feel like some people do give up.
Of course.
Yeah.
You see
because
all
people
the time.
give up because it takes a long time to actually recover. Depending on it take a long time to recover.
Listen,
you
man,
think you?
I'm still recovering
That's
from
what I'm saying.
things that
We're
I've
still
done in my
recovering.
body 15 years ago.
Exactly.
15 years ago.
But it's a rhythm.
15 years ago, I tore my pec. Tore. Chest down here. Tore for the bone. Bow.
Still recovering.
Still recovering.
And what are you doing in his recovery? So like you said, spoke about it, is weakness, recovery.
For sure.
So his strength, you have to strengthen the muscle up around it. He has to recover.
Weakness. That
he has to recover from the weakness.
Because it was weak.
Yeah.
You tear something, you pull something, you strain something, you break something, you're weak.
Yep.
Nice.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's a bar right there. Yeah. If you have weaknesses, you have to warm up sometimes for weakness. You have to then train sometimes for weakness, and then sometimes you have to cool down.
Exactly. Yeah, you have
rhythm.
There you go. Yeah,
it's all rhythm.
Yeah.
It's all rhythm. Yeah. So I mean, guys, listen. You've listened to what we have to say. If you don't comment, if you don't share it, like it, and you guys understand that this is really what's going to help the community, you're not going to help us out. So we'd love for you guys to subscribe to the channel, share what you have to. Oh, come on now. You guys know my gym all the time. Is the slogan for why we started this all together is choices. Everyone is given choices. And we're all given a choice to have the responsibility to either heal our body through physical recovery or not. If you listen to what we're saying and you do nothing, then you're staying stagnant. Everything in the universe has to constantly change. You will die slow. I say that with love. We don't want you to be bedridden. We don't want you to have to go into surgery. But you have to understand that what you do today is going to be how you're going to affect yourself in the future. Put in the work. Make sure you feel good to perform at the highest level. Do that day by day, and then your future will be bright. If not, there's going to be really one road to go, and we don't want to really speak about that. All right. So we love you guys.
The gym.
Gem.
Oh.
Damn.
I feel like he dropped like 2 or 3.
Damn, the gem.
There's a summary.
Okay, I got you.
Exactly.
It's your summary.
Okay. This one's
quick.
Being a passive aggressive. Okay, my specialty, which is basically for everybody in the industry, don't create a plan for yourself, right? Like if you're tasked to getting people out of pain, and you can't create a plan to get yourself out of pain, then and if basically and then
That's
let's work because if you're really inspired by mission, if you're really inspired by purpose, then you could put ego.
He had to say it.
You could put ego and pride aside and really try to solve a issue. But if all you've gotten to is managing your client's pain, and every time they say, every week they come in with their knee, and you're still fixing a knee problem that's been around for 10 years, then
weakness.
That means most likely, really what that means. Dre just said something funny.
Weakness.
Go back. Really, you got pain for 10 years?
But really what that means though, really what that means is that.
Weakness for 10 years.
Really crazy. What that means is that you yourself have been managed. That's what you expect out of yourself. Because generally your client base is a representation of yourself and your own standards. So of course it makes sense that all your clients have lingering pain for years and years because you yourself have lingering pains
Lingering.
that's stopping you. Of course, they're still out of shape because they're dealing with lingering pain, because you yourself are out of shape dealing with lingering pain. So that's how I really feel. But I'm gonna pass it on to Dre to give his gem.
Damn, this conversation was fire, right? Inexpensive recovery tools out there.
Mm-hmm.
Cold shower, hot water, cold, hot. You got your, runner stick. That's like what, $8, $15. You have different footwear, right? There's just a whole bunch of methods out there that's inexpensive. So it's just like, like the ball for your foot, foam roller, like all those things. Like, so now we're giving you basically the tools. So you have all of those things that you can do to help your recovery, speed up your recovery. And, like we spoke about dynamic stretching and everything else we spoke about in here. There's nothing
you know
else.
what? And I'll pass it on to you. Maybe the audience just has to wait for that top 10 list that we're putting together.
Exactly.
Coming soon.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always going to love the recovery talk. Everything, piggyback on everything. But again, I already said my gym about 50 million times.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, you know what time it is. Vitality Handbook. Let's get into it.
Beautiful.